boy, have I read a lot of comics, but I won't get to them all for this episode. It's too many. But to catch up back on the series that I was following, which is this new attempt at a new golden age, with Justice Society of America. And so far, it's the same thing. I mean, it's a long, drawn-out story rebuilding an overall narrative for the series as they go forward. So anyway, there's this image. And, of course, Per Degaton, or Tegotten, whatever. I never did know how to pronounce his name, but he's always been their main supervillain all the way back in the original Justice Society stories. But anyway, so there's, of course, Stargirl, Joaquin Thunder, I guess now is the Joaquin, I think, but he's got the Thunderbolt genie with the pin. And I guess that's Yolanda Montez as Wildcat, the female version. Of course, Jay Garrick, the Flash, and Green Lantern, Alan Scott. And there's their new Huntress in a very, very baggy and uninspired costume. And for whatever reason, Beth Chapel, the Dr. Midnight, looks like they've made her young to be like the TV show, which I like the Stargirl show. And yes, I'll do an overview of its final season, which I've seen. But the weakest part probably was their Dr. Midnight character. But they all had to be kids, so I guess that's why they did it the way they did it. But she had her own costume, and now they've just given her a hand-me-down costume from the old Dr. Midnight. So, but anyway, there they are on the clock because of, Per Degaton. And here he is. Oh, he's working with Nazis, of course. Well, that's funny. But they brought back Jerry Ordway to do this artwork, which is nice because he did a lot of those All-Star Squadron stories and everything in the 80s of those characters. And so they go all the way back to the early days of him experimenting with time machines. And but of course, the main character through this whole story is the Huntress. They're trying to weave away yet again. They already did this with New 52, where they reestablished that the Huntress was Batman's daughter from Earth 2, and then she came across to the main Earth and took on the name Huntress there. She was Robin in her world, and that kind of, it was kind of messing around to make it make sense. Power Girl had been the Supergirl of that world, but and in the battle with Darkseid, they ended up being shifted off to another parallel Earth and all that stuff, and it kind of worked in its own clumsy way. Here, they're messing with time again, and I'm not quite sure how they're going to do this, where she is Batman's daughter, but it appears they're saying that she's the daughter of a possible future of their Batman. And then they acknowledge that there was already another Huntress, because after the Crisis on Infinite Earths, they did a Huntress who was the daughter of a gangster and that sort of thing, and then spends her life to do right by the name and not be involved with the crime world or what have you. Anyway, don't know that this is going to work either. But they do connect it up with the Snow Globe, and if you saw any of the Beyond Flashpoint series that Jeff Johns revisited with the Thomas Wayne Batman and all that stuff, and then it's revealed that the actual Batman was manipulating things because he wanted his parents to live somewhere, and they did in that world. That kind of thing. But it's the messing with time that connects these stories. But it's almost not a story. It's just the world building, I suppose, for the overall JSA narratives that they'll get to when this story, or introduction rather, is over. But it's taking its sweet time. But there's the JSA in action fighting a bunch of bizarros. And looks like at first I thought Shazam had joined the team, but no, that's Jay Garrick. His hat fell off. So anyway, there they are having a good old time battling Superman's nasty clones. Meanwhile, Stargirl is doing the same deal because they're connected, of this mystery of time travel and up to no good or what have you, and introducing or reintroducing old sidekick characters and then inventing new ones that didn't really exist in the original old stories. Like, for instance, Jay Garrick did not have a daughter, but now he does. So that's what they're doing with that series. And for that element of it, of building on it, they seem to be building a lot more through the Stargirl comic than they do through the Justice Society, which I thought was kind of odd. But it's only got 2 more issues to go. The 5th issue is already out. I have not read it yet, so I'm a little behind on that. But more of the same thing. And then, what's his name? Corky or whatever. One of the Time Masters, and he's an arrogant, snotty kid. But he's telling the other kids what's up and what's going on. In case you didn't read some of the Flashpoint Beyond story, he informs you of what happened, that Batman screwed around with time and that sort of thing. But it still leaves it up as a bit of a mystery as to why all these sidekicks have been taken from different points in time and put on this island, which exists outside of time. So nobody ages and all that. But then, oh boy, things are afoot, and Flash Daughter is being used for her speed to generate power by the Chicken Lady, whatever her deal is. Truly a creature from horror movies. But then, I guess that's kind of a nod to folklore and fairy tales and whatnot, which were, in their original form, were very dark. But there's a glimpse of rewritten history where the Flash had a daughter, and they fought crime together. And then they get together and decide, hey, let's storm the evil castle, and they do. How about that? Isn't that nice? It sure is. So you get them all together doing that. And then, they reveal the one who's supposedly behind all of this, that demanded that these kids be abducted and brought to this island by Chicken Lady. And, you'll just have to check it out to find out who that is. So, but anyway, between the two, it just seems like there's more going on in more detail in the Stargirl miniseries than there is in the ongoing Justice Society one. Even though it's basically the same thing. It's like, what is this? What is that? And, and then it'll end seemingly with a wrap-up of some sort, but then you got the JSA series. It goes, they'll probably resolve some things, maybe the mystery of Chicken Lady, and then to be continued in JSA, so probably something like that. The art's good, and it's kind of a silly little story, but, not all that spectacular. And it's still dredging in through this stuff that's the continuity mess of DC Comics, and it's trying to fix it. But this is several attempts now, and, I guess we'll see. But that's kind of what it is. That's more of like, they could have published some DC Comics universe guidebook. And there you go. This is who and this is that. And then, okay, you're good now. It's more of that than an actual story. And that's the weak part about it. Meanwhile, over in Batman, he's messing with the multiverse. There's just nothing to this. Look, there's a different Riddler, and he's got this little tattoo. He's red instead of green, so okay. And so there's a different version. It's just basically an Elseworld story, but it's just not an Elseworlds Batman. He's just been plopped in there. Makes a new costume, see? Yeah, that's the new costume. Then he fights, Harvey Dent Hulk on Venom. And, of course, Batman outsmarts him, and he wins. I don't guess that's spoiling much. And, Catwoman shows up, and, of course, they team up because of the real enemy, who's a mysterious figure known as the Red Mask. Oh, I wonder who that could be. And a tender moment when he confronts the Flash. The Alfred of this world, and but there's really not a whole lot here, and it's sad. A lot of people were impressed with the fail-safe storyline. I think it kind of faltered, and this is where it ends up. You could just pass on it. Really, there's not much there. Meanwhile, over at Marvel, the only thing that kind of compares with what they're doing with JSA is, to look back into the past. Actually, it doesn't do it at all. But it is time travel. The Avengers War Across Time. And just for that alone, and the fact that it is done in the style of old Marvel and is revisiting an actual in continuity with those old stories, it's probably the best thing they got. So, this dwarf that the last issue was kind of stupid, where they just kind of left the time machine on and this guy shows up. But it's still a fun issue. The art's great. They battle this guy who can control the hammer if he wants to because his people made it. So there you go. But he loses the hammer back to Thor and he has to escape, and he does, and goes into the underground, and he's going to find something because there's all kind of stuff going on in there. Oh, look, a giant footprint. I wonder who did that. On and on. Who's looking at him? And, and then check back with Kang and the whole thing, time travel and whatnot. And of course, Kang was supposed to be the next big deal for the movies, but well, there's been some trouble lately. Time will tell, won't it? But still, that's the ultimate plot of the deal, the war across time. And so that explains that. So they get back to their table and say, hey, what's going on here? Maybe we should have gotten Reed Richards to figure out the time travel platform. Yes, probably. But anyway, and then, oh no, what happened? Well, you'll have to find out. Yeah. So, probably as good as it gets. I did catch the latest Moon Knight, and it was sort of okay, but it was better than Batman at the moment, so I can give it that. But maybe I'll review that one next week. But it's fun. But, I'll have to see where it goes. But, oh boy, what are you going to do? Well, I'll tell you what you're going to do. I know you're shocked. World's Finest, easily the best superhero title from mainstream publishers. So you get some interesting stuff. And here, I'm not entirely certain. Like with the Avengers, they do put the old editor's notes to let you know what's old original story they're referring to. Here, they talk about some adventure, and there's Supergirl saying, you're saying that Batmite and Mr. Mxyzptlk? Yeah. Remember the old days when we all thought it was Mxyzptlk? I kind of wish it were that, but... No, it's Mxyzptlk. So they were pretending to be us. So I guess, is this a story? I'm not familiar with it. That there was some story with Batman and Superman having to take on those two idiots, and they disguised themselves as Supergirl and Batgirl. And that actually fooled you? Yes. So anyway, with just a few little changes, it is kind of cool to see them in their original outfits of the time, and especially Batgirl, But it's just a great comic book, And meanwhile, oh no, this guy is murdered. And if you kept up with the Terrifics, which was sort of DC's knockoff of the Fantastic Four, using Mr. Terrific and Plastic Man and Metamorpho and all that, then you're familiar with this. But if you're familiar with Metamorpho at all, you're familiar with Mr. Stag. He's Metamorpho's girlfriend's daddy. They don't get along. But he's, oh no, he's dead. So there's a murder mystery afoot, and Metamorpho seems the likely suspect. But Batman and Robin are on the case in the Batmobile. And so they give you a reintroduction of Metamorpho. Clark Kent actually tells the whole story of how he became Metamorpho, and also explains why he's not a fan of Old Man Stagg. So Batman and Superman team up trying to solve this. They don't want to believe that Metamorpho had anything to do with it, but, well, what do they know? They got to look into it and find out who killed him. And meanwhile, Jimmy Olsen actually gets to be a reporter and delves into the story, and and so he actually investigates it in more depth than Superman and Batman do. And it leads to another suspect, and it's a shocking cliffhanger. And we'll have to see where that goes in the next exciting issue of World's Finest, which continues to be just the best damn superhero title available today. So there you go. You're all caught up until next week. Talk to you then.